Welcome to episode 83 of your CYSA Plus Prepcast. In this episode, we are examining one of the most deceptive and impactful web application vulnerabilities, cross-site request forgery, or CSRF. This form of attack is particularly insidious because it leverages the trust that a system places in a user's browser session. Instead of attempting to steal credentials or bypass authentication directly, a CSRF attack tricks a legitimate user into submitting unintended actions to a web application where they are already authenticated. The user becomes a conduit for the attacker's commands, often without even realizing what has occurred. Understanding CSRF vulnerabilities, how they are detected, and how they are prevented is vital for every cybersecurity analyst and directly contributes to your readiness for the CYSA Plus certification. Let's begin by clearly defining what constitutes a CSRF attack. Cross-site request forgery occurs when a malicious website, email, or script causes a user's browser to perform an unwanted action on a different site where the user is authenticated. Because the browser automatically includes session information, such as cookies, with each request, the target application interprets the forged request as legitimate. This attack exploits the implicit trust the application places in the user's browser session, rather than targeting the user's credentials directly. The key condition for a CSRF attack to succeed is that the user must be authenticated and actively logged in at the time of the attack. A classic example of CSRF involves a banking application. A user logs into their account in one browser tab and then visits a malicious website in another tab. The attacker has embedded a hidden HTML form on the malicious site that submits a funds transfer request to the banking site's URL. When the user's browser loads this form, it automatically includes the session cookie, and the banking site processes the request, believing it to be valid. In this scenario, the attacker has successfully instructed the application to perform an action on the victim's behalf without requiring knowledge of login credentials or direct system access. CSRF attacks generally target state-changing requests, not information retrieval. Examples include changing an account email address, updating user settings, posting a message, or transferring funds. These actions are dangerous because they are usually protected only by the presence of an authenticated session, not by verification of the origin of the request. Applications that do not implement strict request validation mechanisms leave these state-changing operations vulnerable to abuse. CSRF attacks are particularly difficult for users to detect because the malicious request often occurs in the background, without triggering any visual or behavioral indication of compromise. One of the fundamental weaknesses that allows CSRF to succeed is the absence of anti-CSRF protections. Web applications that do not include CSRF tokens in their forms or API requests are unable to distinguish between legitimate and forged requests. The application trusts any request that includes the correct session cookie without a mechanism to validate the request's origin or confirm that it was generated intentionally. Attackers can take full advantage of authenticated sessions and issue arbitrary commands via the user's browser. From a cybersecurity analyst perspective, the primary concern with CSRF is the abuse of privilege. Attackers are not accessing the system themselves, they are leveraging the access rights of the authenticated user to execute commands. This makes CSRF uniquely dangerous in systems where users have elevated permissions. If an administrator is targeted by a CSRF attack, the attacker may gain the ability to create new users, change system configurations, or delete critical data. The impact of a successful CSRF exploit depends heavily on the role and privileges of the targeted user. CSRF vulnerabilities are most relevant in applications where sensitive data is managed, financial transactions occur, or administrative controls are exposed through a web interface. Applications such as content management systems, e-commerce platforms, web-based email clients, and internet portals are all common targets. Any application that maintains session-based authentication and lacks CSRF mitigation mechanisms is at risk. Analysts must prioritize assessments of applications where the consequences of unauthorized actions are especially severe or difficult to reverse. Automated tools are widely used to detect CSRF vulnerabilities. Web vulnerability scanners such as Burp Suite, OWASP Zap, Nikto, and Arachne are configured to analyze web forms and API requests for the presence or absence of CSRF tokens. These tools simulate a variety of requests and observe whether the application validates the authenticity of the request. Analysts use scanner output to identify areas of the application that do not enforce CSRF protections and document these findings for manual validation and remediation planning. While automated tools are essential for broad coverage, manual testing remains necessary for validating real-world exploitability. Analysts replicate common attack scenarios such as constructing malicious HTML forms or image tags that submit forged requests to the target application. Testing includes observing whether session cookies are included automatically, verifying the application's behavior in response to unauthorized requests, and confirming that no anti-CSRF mechanisms are in place. Manual testing also reveals whether session expiration policies, user role protections, or logging mechanisms provide any mitigating effect. To stay current with attacker methods, analysts refer to industry resources such as OWASP's CSRF prevention cheat sheet. This document outlines secure implementation techniques, best practices, and common pitfalls that developers encounter when attempting to implement anti-CSRF defenses. Analysts also review threat advisories and public vulnerability disclosures to identify common patterns in high-risk systems. This intelligence helps prioritize testing and ensures that the organization is protected against emerging CSRF exploitation techniques. Comprehensive documentation practices are essential in CSRF risk management. Analysts prepare detailed reports that describe the vulnerability, demonstrate how it can be exploited, explain the conditions required for exploitation, and quantify the potential impact. Documentation includes recommended remediation strategies such as CSRF token implementation, session hardening, and cookie attribute configuration. These reports serve as a roadmap for developers and system administrators and provide evidence of due diligence in vulnerability management programs. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Analysts recommend robust anti-CSRF protection mechanisms to ensure that every sensitive request originates from a legitimate and intentional user action. One of the most effective protections is the use of anti-CSRF tokens. These are unique, unpredictable values generated for each user session and included with every form submission or sensitive request. When a request is received, the server verifies the token against the ones stored in the user's session. If the token is missing or invalid, the request is rejected. This mechanism ensures that only requests intentionally initiated within the application are processed, preventing forged requests from succeeding. CSRF tokens are most effective when they are cryptographically strong, session-specific, and included in locations that are not automatically submitted by the browser, such as hidden form fields or custom headers. Analysts validate token implementation by checking that the token is generated uniquely per session and that the application verifies its server side on every request that modifies user data or changes account configuration. This simple but powerful check dramatically reduces the attack surface for CSRF vulnerabilities. Secure session management complements token-based defenses by protecting the integrity and confidentiality of session identifiers. Analysts implement session expiration policies to reduce the lifespan of authenticated sessions. They also enforce cookie security attributes, including secure, HTTP only, and SameSite. The secure attribute ensures that cookies are only transmitted over encrypted connections. HTTP only prevents JavaScript access to session cookies, and SameSite restricts cross-ordered cookie transmission. The SameSite attribute, in particular, mitigates CSRF by ensuring that cookies are not sent along with requests initiated from other domains. SameSite cookies are categorized into 3 modes: strict, lax, and none. Analysts typically recommend the lax setting for most applications as it balances usability and security by allowing cookies to be sent on top-level navigations while blocking them in third-party requests. For highly sensitive applications, The strict setting offers more robust protection by only allowing cookies to be sent if the user explicitly initiates navigation from the same origin. The none setting should be used only when cross-site requests are required and must be combined with the secure attribute to prevent interception. Another technique used to validate request authenticity involves checking HTTP headers such as origin and referrer. These headers provide information about the source of a request. Analysts configure applications to verify that the request's origin or referrer matches the application's domain. If the request appears to originate from a different domain or lacks these headers entirely, the server can block it as potentially forged. Although these headers can be absent or manipulated under certain conditions, they offer an additional layer of protection when used alongside CSRF tokens. To integrate security into development workflows, analysts include CSRF vulnerability checks in continuous integration and deployment pipelines. Automated tools are configured to scan application builds and test APIs or web interfaces for missing tokens, insecure cookies, or improper header validation. These tests run each time new code is committed, allowing developers to catch CSRF issues early before they are introduced into production environments. Embedding security in CI/CD pipelines reduces the cost of remediation and helps maintain secure coding standards. Web application firewalls also contribute to CSRF protection by detecting suspicious request patterns and blocking known CSRF attack payloads. Analysts configure WAFs to inspect incoming requests for indicators such as forged form submissions or unusual HTTP referrers. In combination with server-side validation, WAFs can intercept and deny malicious requests before they reach application logic. Additionally, WAF logging helps analysts identify attempted attacks, providing data that can be used for further tuning of application security controls. When CSRF vulnerabilities are identified, immediate remediation is essential. Analysts work closely with development teams to ensure that anti-CSRF tokens are implemented across all sensitive actions, not just login forms or administrative pages. They also verify that secure session management is enforced consistently and that SameSite cookie attributes are correctly configured across all relevant domains. Once mitigations are in place, analysts perform validation testing to confirm that previously vulnerable endpoints now reject forged requests. Depression. Security awareness and training are key components of CSRF prevention. Developers must understand how CSRF attacks function and how they differ from other web-based vulnerabilities. Training programs include secure coding modules that explain token-based protections, proper use of session cookies, and secure form design. Analysts also conduct workshops and simulations to demonstrate real-world attack scenarios, helping teams recognize the importance of CSRF mitigation techniques and adopt them as standard practice in web development. Finally, analysts maintain comprehensive documentation of CSRF defenses. This includes descriptions of implemented protections, testing methodologies, response procedures for identified vulnerabilities, and compliance requirements related to session management and secure request handling. Documentation provides a reference point for future development, assists in audits, and ensures that the security posture of the application is clearly understood and communicated across teams. To summarize episode 83, cross-site request forgery is a serious vulnerability that can result in unauthorized actions being performed on behalf of authenticated users. Effective defense involves a combination of secure coding practices, anti-CSRF tokens, cookie-based protections, session hardening, and consistent validation of request origins. By understanding how CSRF works and how to stop it, cybersecurity analysts play a vital role in protecting web applications and user data. These practices are central to your success on the CySA Plus exam and to building resilient, trustworthy systems. Stay tuned as we continue your detailed journey towards CySA Plus certification success. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.